champions, my friends. And we'll keep on fighting till the end. We are the champions. We are the champions. No time for losers, 'cause we are the champions of the world. Oh, man. Oh, Jack Daly, I had to sing that one to you, brother.
Keep your day job. Adam's job is safe.
Oh, welcome to the Greatness Machine. I'm your host, Darius Mirshahzadeh. Today we have a very, very special guest, Jack Daly, the legend. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Darius. And that was the most unique opening that I've experienced on anything to date.
Yes, that was my goal. So I can't wait to jump into this show. But guys, the format is very simple. We're bringing together change makers from all over the world who have lived their passions to create greatness in the world. And I don't even know where to start, because Jack Daly is a legend of legends. And we're going to talk about so many great things he's done. It's going to sound obnoxious when I'm reading all the amazing things you've accomplished in your life. But I'm going to do it because there's when you're a person like yourself, it just is what it is. So I can't wait to get into that. Thank you so much, my friend.
There's an advantage to being old. You can accumulate a lot of cool things in life, right? I probably have like twice your age as an advantage.
Oh, man. Well, I can't wait to keep racking them up. I do want to do a little bit of housekeeping. You guys, a couple of things. We are live streaming. So we're live. Start a watch party on Facebook. Ask us questions. I have my team on standby. They'll be shooting questions over to us. And when you get 30 minutes with the Jack Daly, you milk every freaking minute of that. And we are going to do that today. So again, I don't think I can give a better introduction, but I just want to go through this man. I got to meet you, and I don't know if you remember, we met on Tavern on the Green in New York City, 2009. John Ratliff and my class from VOG we had built our own 4th year of VOG, and you came in and just blew the freaking roof off. I mean, we had you, Simon Sinek, all these guys in the room just crushing it. And there's like 50 of us just soaking it in. And it was a life-changing experience for me, my friend. I mean, thank you so much for that.
Yeah, that was very fun. And, subsequent to that, GOT offered me membership without going through BOG, right? So it was awesome.
Yeah, it's been an amazing ride to get to be a part of that collective and to meet people like you that changed so many lives. And so I do want to just probably half to 90% of everyone's like, yeah, we know Jack. And you come up on the show all the time, by the way. We'll get into that in a second. So look, Jack is an absolute legend in the business world. I'm just going to read it because this is long and there's so much. And I actually, you don't know this, Jack, but I always create my own bios because I don't like the formal ones. And I just kept going and going. I'm like, he's managed thousands and thousands of people. I think you said you had managed, I read somewhere you managed a sales team of almost 3,000 salespeople. Is that?
Yeah, 2,600 at one point. Yep.
Maybe this is dated because you just told me you ran a few more half marathons, but 93 marathons in 50 states and 7 continents and 15 Ironmans.
Yeah, I've got a couple more marathons under my belt, so I'm 95, but nonetheless.
Oh my gosh. Captain in the U.S. Army, best-selling author of Hyper Sales Growth and Sales Playbook for the Hyper Sales Growth. And you have a new book coming out that we're going to be talking about. Is it Designed by
Life by Design.
Life by Design. Excuse me.
There you go.
I'm so sorry to butcher it, but my gosh, thank you for coming on the show, man. This is really like I'm like a kid in a candy shop right now.
Well, I'm the same kid, just a little bit older.
So man, you've obviously lived this great life and continue to live this great life and had all these accomplishments. And here we are in the world right now where everything's turned upside down. And someone like yourself that's so results oriented, that's just taking a chomp out of the bite of life. How are you approaching this?
Boy, I could take the whole half hour with just that one question, Darius. I'm not going to do that. But December 5, I slipped on one step and severed my quad tendon, which required surgery on December 20th, and I was laid up for a good couple months. When I came out of the brace and started to walk around and stuff, we then discovered I had stage 3 melanoma cancer on the top of my head. And so on April 24, we went to surgery again and took the top of my head off at about the size of the palm, about an inch thick. The good news on that is they got all the cancer out. So while the pandemic was going on, I'm going through 2 major surgeries. But what I can tell you is that I've re-employed myself to recover physically. In the last 6 weeks, I've run 3 half marathons. I will log over 600,000 steps this month alone. If you take that month of 30 days divided by 20,000, you're 20,000 steps minimally a day. And as you mentioned, I took the time that I was laid up and knocked out my next book, which was supposed to be next year, and it's called Life by Design, and it's in the hands of the publisher right now. So, but here's the thing I really want to share with whoever's tuned in. On March the 30th, I'm an old school guy. On March the 30th, I sat down and started writing a list of all the people that are close to me. There's 1,000 names here that I need to pick up the phone and give them a call during these difficult times to say, hey, how are you? And is there anything I can do to help you? I wasn't soliciting business. I'm just trying to be understanding of humans being in difficult times, right? So that's sort of my last 4 or 5 months.
Oh man, I love that you just said that. So you don't know this, but this entire live stream show was born out of me doing the exact same thing.
Wow.
I left my job as CEO of my company in November, and I was just kind of in this really weird place. And I was like, I have this book I want to promote. And I said, it's COVID. I'm going to call every single person I've ever cared about and just see how they're doing. And I ended up giving me a ton of energy and momentum around launching my book. And I got introduced, Mike 𝘠𝘠𝘠𝘠, you know him?
Sure.
So 𝘠𝘠𝘠𝘠, and I started talking, and he referred me to his book person, and she's all about live stream. And like, this show is literally because I did what you did. And what I told my wife was, I said, I have never felt so much love and gratitude in my heart than I did by connecting with people just to see how the hell they're doing. And
yeah, Darius, the amount of playback subsequent to the phone calls with people sending me emails and snail mail and saying, I don't know how you did it, but you caught me at just the perfect time. I needed to hear from somebody like you, because I'm not a glass half full guy. I'm a guy that the glass is overfilled, right? And so, if I can share that with people, we're in the most unusual period of my life, and I've seen some really unusual times. Yeah. But in spite of that, to focus on that which you have control over, and to say, this will be behind us at some point. Sure. And so we just need to get through this as a transition moment and maintain the positivity. That's the key to good health and good fortune.
Yeah. And I love hearing that from someone like yourself that is just has really, when I met you, and your reputation precedes you so much, right? Especially in the MIT community where everyone's like, oh, Jack Daly this, Jack Daly that. And I hadn't met you, but when I did, I was like, wow, this is a person that really soaks up every ounce of life and just gives and exponentially gives it back. And for an entrepreneur, like, I was a young entrepreneur when I met you, and you don't remember this. I doubt if you remember this, because you probably have a million conversations. But I was running a subprime mortgage company at the time in 2003 through 2010 is when I shut it down. And I met you in June of 2009, and we were like hanging out and just, those real casual. We had never met before, and we're having beers and drinking before having a drink before the night. And you said, oh, you're in the mortgage business. You're like, that's a tough business. and I know you have some background, a fair amount of background in it too. And I'm like, oh man, Jack Daly thinks my business is tough. Why am I here? Why am I doing this? I was questioning myself a lot. So it's funny when you meet folks like yourself that have so much overflowing energy, and you're giving it back. It touched me, man. It gave me energy to want to move on. And I just want to thank you for that. I never got to thank you for that. So thank you for that at that time.
Absolutely.
You did a lot for me. And I mean, I can honestly tell you that the book I wrote was born out of moments like that, because it gave me the energy to fight on. And this is 2009. I still fought. I still got my ass kicked for another 2.5 years, and then finally turned it around. I was in, I say, entrepreneurial hell for 5 years. And then I turned it around and had the biggest success I've ever had, and grew, a 9-figure business and had 1,000 employees. And I would never have done that if someone like yourself had not had that energy to give, to overflow and fill my cup when I needed it. So,
well, look, Darius, what's key is the value word, right? And when I think about the values of a business, as an entrepreneur, I look at it in 2 different ways. One's with my public, if you will, my customer prospect side of the house. The other side is with my team, right? And it was interesting in preparation for today's call, not knowing where we were going to go with anything. I'm a guy that has to have some notes, and I started making some notes here. And the interesting thing was I had the public, and then I had the team. And I started listing down the values that were important to me with regard to the public. And then I said, well, shit, it's the same on the team side. Yeah. It's trust, it's integrity, it's empathy, it's care, it's work ethic. And I expected with my behavior with my public, but I also expected with the behavior in the team. Yeah.
There's like that quote, how you show up anywhere is how you show up everywhere, right? And I always say that because part of me getting obsessed with core values is I started helping a lot of my fellow entrepreneurs with theirs, and they'd say, and a lot of the times when they didn't, they kind of thought of it the same way, which is business versus personal. I said, there's no mask, when it comes down to like you might throw a mask on, but people, when they're around you, they see through the mask over time. So who are you? What do you want to be? And why are you here? What do you want to do? Why you want to do? So my question for you is, when you look at those values and when you talk about the change that's going to happen in the world, because having you say what you just said a couple moments ago, that we will get through this and we will be better off and we will thrive. I know that that's coming from your heart, but when you say that, when you look at how people need to grab, let's say, their values to push themselves to that next level, how do you think you'll do that or expect that from those around you?
Well, before I answer the question, let me be clear on where I stand on this pandemic, and that is that too many businesses are waiting for the next 30 days for things to get better. I say, as a business entrepreneur owner, don't even expect things to get better in 2021. Play the long game, and figure 2022, we start to go back into something that's closer to what our old normal was, right? So the game is, how do I survive? How do I make it through this transition period that could take us another year to 2 years, right? Now, when that's the prelude to the question. Now, the answer to the question is that when you care more about them than you, then you don't have anything to worry about. So instead of prioritizing what my agenda is, I'm trying to always prioritize what's in the best interest of the other people. And whether that's on the employee team side or whether that's on the public side. Interestingly enough, I was doing that my whole life, not just because we're in a pandemic. It just gets accentuated during the pandemic. So before there was anything called a pandemic here, 30% of all of the leads that came in to hire me, I sent somewhere else, because I felt like there was a better resource for the person's needs. And so what happens is when you behave that way consistently, that's values. What happens is there is integrity and trust. And at the end of the day, successful businesses are built on trust and integrity.
Yeah, I love that. That's so true. And I think that's where like kind of the rubber meets the road in times like this, because you see these people who have built up that I guess capital, you know, that they've really built that up with their community, and then they can go and try to lean on that. We had a question that just came in that I'd love to ask you. It says, have you seen any shifts in your core values since dealing with your health scare on top of the current crisis?
I've not seen any shift whatsoever. You know, I have always prioritized my personal life consistent and congruent with my business, right? In the book that I've just, Life by Design, there's a paragraph in there that says essentially this. I've met so many business owners that run terrific businesses, but have a personal life that's way short of what they would like it to be. And there's no reason for that to happen. The processes that we use to build a successful business are similar, if not the same, as on our personal life. It's just a matter of where we invest our time and prioritizations. So I've always prioritized my health. I've always prioritized my personal time. And so the advent of COVID didn't say, or the surgeries that I had, and you know, I lost my wife in November of 17 to cancer after a 47-year marriage. It wasn't, you know, hey, I need to change my behavior now because of these things. It was continue with the behavior. Because I'm on the right track. I was on the right track pre that, and I'm on the right track now.
What, sorry, I gotta fix my mic, but a quick question on that. When you look at this book, this Life by Design, which I'm so excited to read. Kevin Dahm, who's a mutual friend of ours, told me that you were writing this book, and he was talking to me about just like all the success you're having with getting through it during COVID. And like, tell us about like what we're like you've written a couple books. I mean, by the way, I've bought all your books. I've trained my teams on your book. I'm like Jack Daly's God when it comes to sales and business scale, right? I'm one of your disciples. So tell us more about the book. Like what was the motivation for it? What are you trying to do with it? I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah, so the first thing, Darius, I would say is that it's unlike anything I've ever written before, because the other 9 books that I've written previously were all about business. This is about your personal life. And I was benefited at the age of 13, because at the age of 13, I interviewed 200 successful people in life. And I wanted to know how they became the success that they became and see if I could model the masters. And so many of them told me, you know, you've got to have goals, not too many, put them in writing, share them with other people, put a timeline next to them. And so I designed 4 areas of my life, financial, professional, education, and family, where I wanted to be when I got old, like 30. Because at 13, 30 was an old guy, right? Yeah. And once I knew what my destination was in those 4 areas of my life, then I could build a track, a plan on how to get there. So the book, Life by Design, takes the reader through the processes that I've been using since I was 13. And here I am at 71. I'm still following that process, albeit it's gotten a little bit more sophisticated along the way. There's an entire guidebook on how to do these certain things so that you can optimize your life. And then what I've also done in the book is, since I've had an unbelievable run as a person in terms of personal things that I've done, for example, there's over 300 items on my bucket list, and over 70% of my bucket list is completed. But it's because of that. So what I've done in the book is given evidence that said, hey, and so here's some of the stuff that was on my bucket list, and this is what the experience was, and this is how I pulled it off.
That's so cool. Speaking of bucket list, like if you had to pick like the number one thing you've accomplished so far on your bucket list, what do you think it would be?
You know, there's less than 200 people in the world that have run a marathon in all 50 states and run a marathon on all 7 continents. So that puts me in rare air. So that's a pretty cool accomplishment. But it's competing with other things. For example, at 58 years old, I did not know how to swim. And as you mentioned in the intro, between 58 and 66 years old, I completed 15 full Ironmans, including the Hawaii Ironman World Championship, right? So it's like, man, how does that not top the list type of thing, right? But you know, there's things that give me great joy that, you know, I don't think they don't deserve top billing, but you know, the world's largest bungee jump. And you know, at Nevis in New Zealand, an 8.5 second drop before you touch, you know, 1001, 1002, 1003, and you're still falling out of the sky, and you're not even a third there. It's unbelievable, right?
Oh.
And so, you know, all this wonderful, crazy stuff. I'm so blessed and grateful for the amount of travel that I've experienced in my life, the amount of countries that I've seen and visited. I'm treated as if I was a visiting dignitary. Last year, I got to share this with you. So every 5 years, I put together a photo book called A Year in the Life of Jack Daly. And I do it every 5 years. So 50, 55, 60, 65. Well, last year was 70, right? And by the way, you got plenty of notice when you're going to be on one of those years, right? So you got 5 years to plan it. So I delay all kinds of different things and stack them so that the year is full. Last year was so full that my Shutterfly book that goes on a coffee table, we had to do them by quarter because there's only 100 pages in each book. And I take at least one photo every day. So you go to bed at night saying, what's my photo going to be tomorrow? And then in the morning, you wake up and say, that's going to be my photo, but keep an eye out because there might be something even better to do. And so you raise the bar on your life in a magical way. That's in the book as well. The photo a day, a year in the life of. It's just taking life and taking it to the next level.
Man, you suck the juice out of life. I mean, just drink it up. I swear to God, I'm so motivated by you right now. And like, it's like my heart's singing right now, man. Thank you for all this. This is so cool.
So I worked at a grocery store at 17 years old, and every 4 hours you had to have, it took a mandatory 15-minute break. And so I'm on break, and I'm with this other guy that works in the store and a gal that works in the store. And we're all about the same age, 17, 18 years old. And we're in a little luncheonette having a bite to eat. And the girl turns to me and says, when are you going to grow up? And I looked at her and said, hopefully never. And so at 71, I'm a kid. I mean, I am a kid. At 28 years old, Darius, I built into my, what I called the life list. Now I call it the bucket list because it was a much more appropriate name. But in my life list at 28, I wrote down that I wanted to live to 125. Yeah. And I believe that I'm going to make it to 125. Yeah. What I said at 28 was this: if I could lead a disciplined life and exercise regularly, eat the right things, behave you right. I've never had a cup of coffee. I've never had a drug. I've never had a cigarette, any of that type of stuff. I said, if I could do that between 28 and 75, by the time 75 hit, science would figure out how to take me to 125. But if I handed them a broken down 75-year-old dude, they're not going to invest the science in me. So here I am. I'm 3.5 years shy of 75. And the doctors tell me that I'm the equivalent of about a 39-year-old dude. So I'm on my way, brother.
Yeah, no, man, that's amazing. There's this conference that a friend of mine introduced me to that I want to go to next year. It's called the 360 conference. Have you heard of this?
No.
where it's essentially what you're talking about. They're like, look, if you knew that, let's use, for example, at 71, you knew you're going to live to 125 and you knew you could live it healthy, like you're not breaking down, you're living
Absolutely.
a full life all the way up. How would you live your life differently at 71? Because all these people, I see it, man. People my age, I'm 42, and they're like, oh, I'm getting old. I'm like, you're getting fucking old, not me. You know, I mean, dude, you don't know this about me. I lost 150 pounds a couple years ago, right?
Wow.
And I swim almost a mile a day, which is, I just started swimming during COVID. And I know you're a big swimmer. That may not sound like much, but I'm like, I have not missed a swim in 3 months, right? And I'm like, I'm gonna live. I'm just getting started, you know. And I hate when I hear people act like they say, oh, I'm getting old. I'm like, that is a frame of mind.
Absolutely. When Bonnie and I, we met when we were 16 years old, and you know, I lost her at 67 years old. But when we were growing up, we remember our parents saying, when we retire, we're going to do these things. Well, each of our dads died around the age of 50. So all the things that they were going to do never got done. Yeah. And I looked at Bonnie and said, you know what? We're putting down the list and we're knocking the list off. You know when we're doing it? Right now. And so I still have my list and it's right now. Now, COVID hits and my list got changed a bit because I couldn't do this and I couldn't do that. But I've replaced it with all kinds of other cool things.
Yeah, that's incredible. We have another question here. What is the #1 thing still on your bucket list?
Ah, that's very cool. So I'm going to struggle with it again. I'm going to give a couple. So I want to carry the torch at the Olympics. Not the one that lights the flame to start the games. That's a little bit of a stretch. But you know where you run it for about 1/10 of a mile and give it to the next guy.
Yeah.
The thing I found out is you get to keep that torch as a memento, right? So you can put it in a shadow box in your office or something. Yeah. But I also high on the list is to meet personally the President of the United States in the Oval Office as well as Air Force One. I don't care what president. I just want to knock that one off. One of the bucket list items I knocked off last year was I visited all the presidential libraries, which is cool. a great trip in terms of studying leadership.
Yeah, that's so cool. That's man, you're getting me so motivated. Gosh, we're running short on time here. This like flew by. I'm like, we could go for like 2 hours. If you guys have any more other questions, you better jam them in because I'm going to ask you one. This is my final question for you, and then if we get another question from the crowd, we'll get it. If not, we'll get wrapped up here because this has been such a treat and a gift to get time with you. I know that you are a huge wine guy, and that you love yourself some wine. Is that still the case? I want to make sure that I'm not off kilter.
Yeah, I have a custom designed. I designed my wine cellar in my house. It holds 1,000 bottles. So yeah, I'm a wino.
Just a little bit. So my question to you is, it's your last glass of wine on earth. What would it be?
So my Australian friends are going to really like me for this because that's where I'm going for my last sip, and I'm going to be holding a nice bottle of Penfold Grange. And the Grange is a very difficult bottle to procure. And I have 3 of them sitting in my cellar, for that. They're going to sit there for another 10 years before I crack one of them open. The longer they sit, the better they get.
I wrote that down. I'm like, that's on my bucket list now.
Yeah, get yourself a bottle of the Grange.
I will.
Absolutely.
Oh, Jack, man, I really appreciate this. This has been such an amazing 30 minutes with you, and I wish we could have a lot more time, and my heart is full. Thank you for being a part of the show.
Well, it's been a pleasure to be here, and I look forward to when we're back flying and visiting people, and I'll be sure to stop in. I have several friends in Austin, and I didn't realize that you had moved there, so now I have more reason to go than I had before.
Yeah, and likewise, my family's in Southern California, so maybe I'll come see you.
Oh yeah, well we've got you know, I won't open the Grange for you, but I will open some nice reds.
Yeah, I'll bring you some too. I have a like nice California collection. But this has been such a treat, guys. Thank you so much. By the way, Jack, where can everybody find you? I mean, sorry, I got so caught up in our talk, I'm a little off script. Yeah, where can everyone find you? Where can we find you?
Yeah, Jack Daly, sales.com. And Daly is the way to spell it. But easy to find. If you search me, I'm all over the place.
Yeah, you are. It was like I was doing research before our talk, and I'm like, this is like the easiest research I ever did. You have so much wonderful content out there.
Yeah.
Jack, thank you so much. Guys, if you like this show, please follow us at @TheRealDariussM on Facebook, or you can go to my website, www.therealdarius.com. And Jack Daly, you're a legend, and I can't wait to see you 50 years from now and do something cool with you then too. And even in between.
Drink a glass of wine. Yes. I will, 50 years from now, I will open a bottle of Grange with you.
Yeah. I'll be there with bells on. All right, guys.
High five.
Bye, everybody.
See ya.